Leadership is not about setting strategies. It is about inspiring people. It is about fostering collaboration. It is about cultivating a culture that welcomes innovation and inclusivity.
Leadership can predict what the organization will be, and leadership decides what the organization is. And leadership can bring fame to the older name and in fact delete the bad perspective what is known. So it is so important.
Leaders bring culture and leaders change the culture. Now, the changed culture, whether it will be good or toxic, depend upon the leader and the leadership style. If we talk about today's business world, leadership is not about setting strategies. It is about inspiring people. It is about fostering collaboration. It is about cultivating a culture that welcomes innovation and inclusivity. So today in our conversation, we have Dr. Pratima Verma, a professor and area chair from the area of HR and OB. We will discuss on impact of leaders on organizational culture, how a leader and their style brings change in organization and its culture. So whether you are seasoned professional or an emerging leader or someone who is passionate about knowing more how to make a culture great, this conversation will bring you fresh perspective and actionable insight. So let's get started. So ma'am, how do you define the connection between culture and leaders?
Okay, if it has to be as simple as what you're asking, for me, it's like leadership is about present, leadership is about future culture, and leadership is all about adding value or deleting the past bad perspective. Leadership is so powerful. Leadership can predict what the organization will be, and leadership decides what the organization is. And leadership can bring fame to the older name and in fact delete the bad perspective what is known. So it is so important. It is like a DNA, okay, of the culture. People say culture is individual's contribution, but I will say leader decides the culture. So it starts from the leader. There was an interesting research in 2022 by Sorkos, and he wrote something very touchy, I will say. He said, when you recruit someone, make sure that he is reflective enough of the culture you have and he is intelligent enough to evaluate the culture, because the growth or the downfall starts from there. Now, if he is very smart and he knows that the culture is not apt for the market, it is not as per the decided framework or not as per the requirement, organization will fail. His research also brought light and added value to the perspective that if he is not evaluating and functioning according to it, he is just an addition, he is not a leader. A leader will evaluate, add and subtract and make a culture which boosts the performance, which boosts the name, add value to the vision. So it is so important for culture or for the organization growth as such.
So ma'am, how strongly you believe that it is only the leader who brings culture, or it's a collective effort of an organization?
See, a culture is not, as I said, output of one's behavior. It is at group level and organizational level. Now, what happens when, as a leader, I have some vision about the culture, but I am not confident enough to articulate to you, and I am not good enough to give reasons why I want such culture, then you will not be party to it, right? And then you can have subcultures, because you as a team, you don't agree with my vision. You will have your own culture, right? Then organization cannot take up the culture. So what is the best strategy? As a leader, when I define the way I want to see my organization, first it should be me. then it should be people around me who are convinced with me and they understand the why part of it, why I am doing that. I am able to articulate that. So you transfer, the leader transfer to the next level and the next level transfers to everyone in the organization. So it cannot be one person. But the responsibility lies on one person. This is something interesting. I have to start, responsibility lies with me. So the processes to frame the culture, responsibility is with me. But the output can't be me. The output has to be the whole group. So this is how culture can build.
So nowadays people are talking about toxic workplace culture and then great places to work. So what do you think, what makes workplace culture toxic?
Okay, MIT did an interesting publication in 2022 and they said that toxic workplaces which is like more target oriented, unethical, disrespectful, not giving enough ears to the employees. These are some traits of toxic culture. Now the answer lies there only. How? If I as a leader don't listen to you, I don't understand your perspective, I don't have enough understanding to evaluate your perspective, then at the end of the day, I will just say, do what I'm saying. And when you say that, then obviously it's a toxic culture. When you just say, do this much, these are the numbers. Like for example, in sales, you say, you have to make 2000 sales. Now, when you have to make 2000 sales and you are not asking how you did the sales, then there are high chances the process may go unethical. Now, I will give you one example from my side. So, yesterday I was in a recruitment panel and my boss in evening he asked, so how many recruitment you did? So, I said I did 2 out of 4 good candidates. Others were very bad, so I will not talk about them. He asked one question which was so clear that he is bothered about the process. So he said why you accepted to and why you rejected to. So next time when someone comes to you and say, oh, I made a sales of 1 crore. So next time ask him why you did that, how you did that. When you start asking that question, 2 things will happen. You will understand the other's perspective. You may also get a new perspective and the chances are very less that unethical processes will prevail. Because you will have fear, oh, my boss will ask questions. My boss is not only bothered about numbers. And in MIT research, it was clearly mentioned that if you talk about only targets, numbers, you are not going to make it great. The organization will not be a great because processes have to be followed. Listening others, understanding others, ethical processes, why you are doing that, clarity of vision. If all that is missing, there will be toxic culture. So the indicators of toxic culture itself gives you the answer that how to avoid it.
But in the process of doing so, how to ensure that I am ethical also, I am not compromising on the quality, productivity, employee, and at the same time I am maintaining a great culture at workplace.
Okay. Let me recall a research which was done by Hong in 2021. As per Hong, there are 2 ways to run an organization. One is leadership by vision. What is the vision of the organization? I will follow it. But he said, in that case also, the leader is not reflective. You have a vision, you make someone leader or the leader start functioning as per the vision, that vision may not match with the present circumstances. You got the point. The failure of big companies like Xerox, the reason was same. Leadership by vision is fine, but he says vision leadership. It means you understand the perspective, you understand people, evaluate it and then decide. So when you say, I should be bothered about productivity, you should be bothered about result, but you should be more bothered about the processes and you should know where to stop what. Like sales is good, high sales is more than welcomed, but at what cost? So let us say you as a salesperson, a simple example, when you made a big sales, I gave you good rewards and I increased your compensation. And then you look at the young people, how they function. So what they do, they will have that offer letter and they will go to next one and they will jump. Now, if you have made so much high sales without following certain practices and ethical practices, the other person who comes in, he is going to suffer because you have told lot of lies to the customers. They have bought it, but they were not able to match your promises with the product, and then you fail. So all this can be taken care when sometimes leader actually gets into the process. I will not say day-to-day basis, very difficult, but just like a surprise, he should cross-check the processes. When you cross-check the processes, everyone will know, see, this is not welcomed. My leader expects something else. So at least part of the organization will follow ethics, will follow processes. At the same time, will be very careful about productivity, output, enhancement. So these all becomes the byproduct. This is, yeah.
What about this inclusion of morality into leadership?
Okay. So when we talk about morality, again ethics into leadership, there is a dilemma. So for example, I like few people, and I like few people because they match with my vision, my mission, my understanding. But as I am saying, and somehow I have come to this belief that it's all about reflection. If you are a leader who you have this habit of evaluating your actions, so you will evaluate what you call your morality, your definition of morality, and the definition of morality which organization is looking at or people are looking at. So maybe you say, no, no, it's all about high productivity, survival, growth. No one disagrees. But what is growth? What is profit? That has to be defined. So when we talk about morality, I will say the answer somewhere lies in being reflective and taking people along with you. And then I think real morality prevails. Otherwise, you with your definition will try to, push people. That doesn't help.
But then when you look at the current trends, particularly when we talk about the technological change, the cultural change, the change of generation, the change of the concepts like loyalty, don't you find the leaders are in a very difficult position?
They are, they are. Therefore, no one wants to be leader. So there was a survey done where they found that everyone wants to be at the next level, because they don't want to be accountable for many these type of dilemmas. People are not interested because it takes life out of you. And everyone knows that after some time people just want peace of mind. So this is something which is, yes, people don't want. In fact, look at Tata, they struggled so much to get a leader. And if you just like that ask people, what are your goals? They will say, I want to be CEO. But actually no one wants. Because yeah, there are lot of uncomfortable situation. So when you talk about technological change, now so look at the change process. Mediocres especially don't want change. But now there are two aspects of it. Are you bringing change for the change per se, or you are bringing change for the development? And if you call it development, how you define development? And are your people ready for that development? Have you convinced them for that development? Or just one fine day you say, oh, this is development and let us start. And I think development as a different perspective. You as a leader, you are defining development in a different way, and then you will not see result. So any type of change, technology, yes, there are some hidden insecurities related to technology. People are not so well versed, so they don't want. But I personally feel that if you tell the advantages of it, like acceptance of computer, you remember, I think you must be kid, but I started reading newspaper those time. Maybe you would have not read headlines, and headlines used to be this much attrition will be there and these many people will lose the job, but in fact number of jobs have increased. So if you bring technological change and you convince people that it is for your betterment, you will do more creative stuff, you will have a better work life balance, or so on so forth, then automatically people will do it. Maybe 90% yes, if 10% are not with you, that is also fine. But if you are not able to explain why that change is important, and you should be the leader while showing it. So when I say technology, I should be well versed with technology. Yesterday I was talking to a strategic consultant and he said something very interesting. He said organizations, when he does the first meeting, he gauges one thing, and especially for technological change, whether the leader himself is techno savvy or not. So he says if someone is not so well versed with the technology and he doesn't know much of the common terms, he says, then I have second thought and I think, you see. So when you bring about a change, you should be the first person to exhibit it. And then slowly the whole organization will adopt it. So any type of change, I think it starts with the leader.
So then, based on your experience, what you suggest to these emerging leaders, how they ensure that wherever they go, they bring a positive and what we say great workplace culture?
For these youngsters, there is something which I always say, don't become like reels, Maggie 2 minutes, because that's not going to help. You know, everything is not chat GPT, right? And if you are taking help of chat GPT, also not a problem, but again become little reflexive. What is written, why it is written, why we are doing that, why particular person should be responsible for a job, why not, and why both, why and why not. So for this young leaders, get into the processes and always remember, if you want to be a true leader, then your input always has to be higher than the others. Your input in terms of work, your input in terms of ethics, your input in terms of strategy, your input in terms of reflection, your input in terms of reading, understanding, evaluating, your input has to be much higher. You cannot crib. It can be as simple as humor, right? So there was let me add this. So there was a research, it says that if you want to have a great work culture, the leader should know how to be humorous in conditions. Like for example, in performance evaluation, so people have to be critical. And at the same time, they can't be blunt about sometimes poor performance, because maybe let us say Mr. X was doing great all these years and somehow he has not performed. So those type of employees you have to respect. But at the same time, if you are little candid, little humorous in that process, he will understand, he will not feel bad, he will make a change, and you have passed on the message. The research also says that when you are humorous, there is a lot of cohesiveness, there is a lot of connectedness, there is a lot of open culture, development. So it can be as big as strategic thinking and as small as being humorous. So few of the qualities you have to develop. But having said that, one thing which I always tell when I talk about leadership, it's not inborn quality. It can be practiced.
I was going to ask this question.
Yes, it can be practiced. You make some targets that this year I will work on my, let us say, teamwork. This year I will work on, strategic thinking is a continuous process, so I will not say that this year you work and next year you don't work. But there are few things when you start working on it, you can make change. So leaders, young leaders, life is not reels, life is not chat GPT. Organizations don't run on chat GPT. Don't send out mails framed by chat GPT. You create a bad image, no one will respect you. You work on your mails. You understand what you want to convey. So don't make it a quick Maggie noodle or chat GPT or reels type of culture, because that will not make Harvard, or that will not make Google, or that will not make SAP or Microsoft. Organizations are built where leaders actually think.
So, there are so many institutions these days who are offering a lot of courses on leadership.
Yes.
Leadership and culture, leadership and organization,
Yes.
leadership and change. How strongly or how positively you feel that someone who is taking up this course can emerge as a great leader and make a great workplace?
See, I think there are two parts of leadership. One is inborn, and when I say inborn, that is also impacted by my parents, by society, by my educational institute, my teachers. So when I say, I actually take all. And one is training, which comes at little later stages. So how big organizations since the beginning, like how G used to do, when you get as a trainee, they used to recognize and they give special training to those who have some qualities. So I believe these courses can make a change, but these courses should not be taught like tick mark once syllabus is completed. No, it will not impact. In fact, if you look into the syllabus of the top universities of such courses, I have noticed that most of the professors say there will be a reflection every week or every month or after every course. What you have learned, what you have practiced, what was the output. So, you must be surprised, or maybe you will be little curious why I am using this reflection and reflexive word, because whatever reading I have done, I have understood it's at leadership position, it's all about reflection. And sorry to say, our education system is not developing that. We don't push students to think and then ask them to write down what they have learned. We just try to complete the syllabus and we just try to complete the number of tests, but reflection is not happening. And there can be, so what is the solution of developing this reflection? Therefore, we say case studies. Case study is one methodology of reflection. It can be writing essays. If you remember, in our young days, essay was the most important thing. Think on it, still it is the most important, because that is what our kids have to learn, youngsters have to learn. So these syllabus, I am totally for it, but if those syllabus or those courses are run without reflection, it's not going to be impactful. They will just learn the theories, oh, theory number 1, 2, 3, and some of them who are very intelligent, they will use it here and there, but they will not mastery leadership. That will happen when you add these type of things to the courses.
So, just to sum up, I would like to know your final thoughts on leader, organizational culture, at the same time not compromising on ethics, morality, quality, productivity, service, everything.
I always say it's not only leadership, but anything you do, and which is known as mindfulness. Why you are doing that? Which I have always said, what is the purpose of doing that? Are you clear with what you are doing? Are you convinced with what you are doing? Have you taken along those people who are party to it? Do they understand why they are here? And you will be surprised. You can read New York Times, and there was a survey done, and I was also shocked. Most of the CEOs, they themselves don't know what their organization stands for. And if you don't match with your actions to the vision, you see what type of leadership we are into. Are you developing for some short term output? Are you developing organization for something long term? Then your thought process have to be different. So when you talk about ethics, when you talk about morality, when you talk about performance, all that develops when, again I will say, more of a reflexive in nature. Why you do that? And that is something which actually is missing. So why it is happening, that also has a reason. Nowadays when recruitment happens, and at least at CEO level, you see some CEO performing extraordinary in the organization and you recruit him. And you think this person will come here and do that. Maybe that organization was all about sales. And your organization is about, maybe let us say, service industry, let us talk about hospitals. You are recruiting someone for hospital. He was in good sales, okay, sales of those type of product. Now, if that person comes to a hospital and he is also trying to increase the number of patients, just imagine his vision. So, this is one big problem. When you recruit someone at that level, or you yourself is a leader, you sit and think where I want my organization to. And many books, many scholars have done such big longitudinal study, and this facts remains the same. Organizations which are clear about their vision, and each and everything they do in the organization till it matches with the vision, they don't move. And if you move and you just do it, and when I say this, I am not saying there is no scope for change. No, no. I am saying change also has to be aligned with the vision. So if all that is taken care, I feel things will be easy for everyone, not so complicated.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your insights. And I hope emerging leaders will definitely reflect upon things, what they need to do, and every day keep on reflecting what they have done and add next day to your reflection. This will definitely help you to become a great leader and you can build a great organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.